This is the story of Travis Walton. Travis is at the center of one of the most widely publicized UFO abduction cases of all time. Travis was a 22-year-old American forestry worker. On the evening of November 5th, 1975, his life changed forever. He and 6 of his co-workers were driving home after a long day of logging in the remote woods of the Apache Sitgraves National Forest near Snowflake, Arizona. Driving along the dark forest logging road, a bright object appeared in the shape of a saucer. The craft was said to be hovering over a clearing in the woods about 100 feet off the road. Travis, for reasons never clearly explained, jumped from the truck alone and ran towards the craft to get a better look. The rest of the passengers in the truck called for him, yelled for him to return to the truck. Then they saw a bright beam of light drop down from the belly of the craft. They said the light was so bright it lit up the forest like daytime. They witnessed Travis rise up into the saucer on that beam. The 6 men remained in the truck, frozen with fear. The driver, crew leader Mike Rogers, then sped from the scene. A couple of miles down the road, the men decided they should turn around, return to the scene, and see if they could help their friend Travis. Upon their return, they saw no sign of Travis or the saucer. With Travis nowhere to be found, the crew decided to head to town and report the event to the sheriff's department. They explained to authorities that they had witnessed their friend being abducted by aliens in a flying saucer. Needless to say, the police were skeptical. Mike Rogers and the police returned to the scene and did a thorough search. Nothing turned up. In the following days, Arizona sheriffs searched for Travis with scent dogs and helicopters throughout the Apache Sitgraves National Forest, to no avail. The sheriff's department had been treating the event as a missing persons case. Some on the force were beginning to suspect the 6 left-behind crew members may have been involved in a criminal conspiracy, possibly the murder of Travis Walton. Miraculously, on the afternoon of November 10, 1975, Travis suddenly reappeared. He claimed to have woken up on the side of the road, dazed and in a mental fog, with no sense of his time away. Travis ran to a phone booth and called his family. They informed him that he'd been missing for 5 days. Travis was, of course, interrogated by authorities. He claimed to remember seeing a beam of light and immediately feeling a jolt, like a shock, then losing consciousness. And when he came to, he remembered being in an odd-shaped room that resembled a hospital operating room, lying on an examining table. He was surrounded by what he described as 4-foot-tall, hairless, expressionless beings with pale skin and large heads and brown eyes. He claimed they were wearing orange jumpsuits. Walton claimed that when he regained consciousness, lying on the examination table, fearing for his life, he sat up and shoved one of the creatures aside. He then grabbed a nearby object from the shelf behind him and began swinging wildly at the captors, causing the aliens to back away. At this point, a human-like entity entered the room. Walton theorized that it could be a visitor. He says the human was wearing a blue uniform and a clear glass helmet, which he described as looking like a fishbowl on his head. The human-looking being was large and strong and had long hair. Walton then remembers the human creature taking him out of the craft to another structure, possibly another building or the mothership. They put Travis on a table, and another creature, which appeared to him to be a human female, put a mask over his face, rendering him unconscious. The next thing Travis remembers is coming to face down on the ground next to the road, which turned out to be about 30 miles from the spot of the abduction. During the time that Travis was missing, all 6 men that witnessed the abduction generally corroborated Walton's story. 5 of them were given lie detector tests, and all were said to have passed. One of the witnesses, Alan Dallas, refused to take the test. He claimed that he and Travis had an argument the morning of the incident, and he was afraid the police were trying to pin a crime on him. After Travis returned, he too was administered the lie detector test, and he also passed. Travis made allegations of involvement by the U.S. government. He claimed that one of the witnesses was offered $10,000 to keep quiet. That story was never corroborated. On Joe Rogan's podcast, Walton claimed that when he was a child, he had an encounter with a similar-looking being. He says he woke up in the middle of the night to see a little gray, hairless, man-like creature in a black suit with a large head standing at the foot of his bed. Travis Walton's claim of his alien abduction experience was the inspiration for a book called The Walton Experience and the 1993 movie Fire in the Sky. Needless to say, Walton has experienced a steady stream of income as a result of his well-documented alien abduction experience. Many believe Walton's story. They question what motivation would he have for falsifying the abduction. They point out, even if Travis had a motive, why would the other 6 witnesses lie? Some who have investigated Travis Walton's claims of an alien encounter point to troubling inconsistencies in the story, however, and provide compelling reasons to believe that the entire story might have been a hoax. The witnesses never explained why they waited 2 hours to report the incident to authorities. If you witnessed your friend being kidnapped by aliens in a flying saucer, would you wait 2 hours to report it? Critics of the story's legitimacy point to the fact that 10 days after the event, Travis Walton actually failed a polygraph test, which was administered by authorities. Shortly after the supposed abduction occurred, it was the National Enquirer that administered the lie detection tests, which were passed by Travis and the 5 witnesses. Subsequently, the National Enquirer awarded Walton and his co-workers a $5,000 prize for Best UFO Case of the Year. The 7 people involved in the incident were all young men in their 20s, and most had been friends since childhood. Mike Rogers, the young man driving the truck and crew leader, had contracted with the U.S. Forestry Service to thin out trees in the area where the event occurred. He had significantly underbid the project. Rogers was seriously behind schedule and in fact had received an 84-day extension accompanied by a financial penalty for missing the completion date. Only 5 days of the extension remained at the time of Walton's alleged abduction. Rogers was in serious trouble. He had over 100 acres left to finish in 5 days, or he would default on the contract and was at risk of losing his business. As a result of the alleged UFO incident, Rogers was able to convince the Forestry Service to cancel the contract due to fears of UFOs flying around the area. Rogers then received payment for the work completed to date and was able to pay his crew. It was reported by friends of Walton that even before the incident, Travis had a fascination with UFOs. They referred to him as a UFO freak and said he had been preoccupied by UFO stories since he was a child. On October 20th, 1975, about 2 weeks before the incident, NBC televised a special called The UFO Incident, the story of Barney and Betty Hill, a couple that claimed to have been abducted by aliens in 1961. Walton admitted to seeing the program and likely discussed it with his friends. It's been almost 50 years since the alleged abduction, and Travis Walton is still experiencing financial gain as a result. He regularly presides as a keynote speaker at UFO conferences, appears on talk shows and podcasts, and he continues to insist that he was abducted by aliens. What do you think? Was Travis Walton abducted by aliens, or did 7 young men conspire to construct an elaborate hoax for financial gain? Leave a comment below and be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you won't miss the next episode of Mysteries, Legends, and Lies.